Hello, everyone. How are you all doing today? It's Saturday. It's beautiful outside here in Augusta, Georgia. It's sunny. There's no rain. It's just a beautiful day. And today is the day that you all get an opportunity to pick the author's brain. You get an opportunity to have an intimate conversation with me, Angel Charmaine, the author of the brand spanking new, amazingly powerful roller coaster of emotions book entitled When I Met Him. So there are lots of people who have read this book. There are hundreds of people who have actually ordered the book, who have read the book. I've gotten text messages, I've gotten email messages, I've gotten messenger and DM messages about this book. Everyone is saying, look, I'm feeling this book. I know these men. Angel, you're telling my story or stories. And so I've gotten some requests from some of my readers that they would actually like to hear more about sort of the behind the scenes for the book. And so I thought, why not? And this will give you all an opportunity to actually ask me, specific questions if you have any. If you want to make comments or whatever, you can do that during this time. So I welcome you. I invite you to share this live with your communities. If you know people who've read the book and they don't know we're having this, listen, invite them. If you know people who've never read the book and you think they should read the book, invite them, encourage them to come chop it up with me a bit. Hey, Deborah, how you doing? It's so good to see you in the space. Thank you so much for joining me today. I also want to say that I am going to, hold on a second. If any of you would like to actually join me on screen, if you would like to come on here and talk to me so that you can ask me your questions directly, I'm putting a link in the comments right now. All you have to do is click that link and it's going to allow you to enter into the conversation with me, and we'll be able to see you on screen. I'll be able to see you, and you'll just be able to chop it up with me one-on-one. Okay, so if you want to do that, then the link is in the comment section right now. And I am looking forward to having some very candid conversations with you all today. So I'll give you all just a few moments to come on in. If you have questions for me about the book, about me personally, about my writing process, about the writing of this book, if you have any questions, please type them in the comment section. This is your time to talk with me about my journey as an author, as well as writing this particular book, When I Met Him. Deborah says, I'm good, sis. It's good to see you too. Thank you. I appreciate that. Y'all are getting the show enough intimate conversation with me today. Saturday is my Sabbath, and I rest on Saturday. Most days. Yeah, pretty much. I get my rest. But I said today we are going to chop it up about this book. So there's no makeup on my face. There's nothing. Y'all are getting the real raw Angel, period. So this is the best time to ask me questions about this book. So come on into the room. When you can see me and hear me and you're here, then, say hello. Let me know that you're here. April says, first thing, hello, April. It's good to see you, sis. She says, I started and finished last night. It was great. Thank you. Thank you for getting a copy of the book and actually reading it, finishing it, right? So if you have any questions, April, Deborah, Hi, Aaron. How you doing, brother? It's always good when the brothers pop in. This is a book that will benefit men as well as women. It's not just a book for women. So thank you for joining us today, Aaron. I appreciate you coming into the space. Thank you for speaking to everyone in the room. So if you all have if you have questions for me, go ahead and let them rip. April says I couldn't put it down. That's what I like to hear. That's what I like to hear. Deborah says it was amazing. Oh my gosh. Okay, so y'all know I'm gonna have to highlight some of these comments. April says I couldn't put it down. April, what was it about the book that kept you reading? You said I couldn't put it down. Like, what was it? Was it the different men? Was it the storyline? Could you see yourself and you were just kind of trying to see if it was going to end the way it ended for you? Or like what was it about this book that made you not be able to put it down? Like, talk to you, girl. Let me know. You know, what was it about the book? Deborah says it was amazing. Deborah, tell me, what was amazing about it? Like, tell me, was it just the men? Was it the writing? Was it the self-reflection? Was it that you could relate to the story? Like, what was it about When I Met Him that you feel like it was an amazing read? I mean, I appreciate it. I appreciate the feedback. I just kind of want to dig a little deeper. You all already know that I am all about self-reflection, self-evaluation. I'm all about, looking on the inside of ourselves and figuring out why we do what we do, why we think the way that we think. And so my books, one of my readers said it best. And I've sort of stolen this comment for myself. One of my readers in a comment said that my books are like self-help books that give you a mirror instead of the answers. I couldn't have said it any better than that. I couldn't have said it any better than that. So, did you all have any mirrors? Did you have any mirrors? Let's see. April said it was very transparent and I could see everything happening so vividly. I was curious to see what is the next man going to be like. Okay, so you kept reading to figure out like, okay, I got man 1. I see man 2. What's the next one going to be? Okay, I can get that. Were you satisfied? Were you satisfied with the next man and then the next man and then the next man and then the last man? Were they satisfying? Hello, Shlonda. How are you doing? It's so good to see you. Thank you for joining me today. I bless God for you. Let me tell you, you're my kind of reader, Shlonda. Shlonda got the book. And as soon as she started reading, she was posting, she was circling, she was underlining. I was like, yes, eat it all up. One of my boys, all 4 of my boys are wrestlers, and their coach in Washington, he has this saying, like when things got hard, when they were in the thick of conditioning and exercising, he would walk around while they were all sweating and hurting. He'd tell them to eat it up like good cake. Eat it up like good cake. So I could tell that as Shlonda was reading, she was eating it up like good cake. Although some of the stuff that I talk about in the book is a little hard to digest, especially if you haven't done your heart work. Y'all know I always say heart work is the hard work, right? So if you haven't done your heart work, then reading my books, they might mess you up for a minute. But for people who have done their heart work or are in the process of doing their heart work, they can see it, they can respect it, they own it, and it's like, yes, I got it. So I appreciate you, Shlonda, for your feedback. Thank you. Hello, Dr. Damien. How you doing? It's good to see you in the space. Thank you. Thank you. April says, I was satisfied. By the time I got to the last man, I knew who he was. Yes, we're not going to tell them who the last man is. So one thing, what I'm going to try my best not to do today is to give you all spoilers. I don't want to give you spoilers. So we're going to try not to spoil the read for those who haven't read it yet. But I do want to answer any questions y'all have. So remember, if you scroll up here, I'll put it here again. If you would like to join me on screen, and you want to talk to me, ask me questions, if you just want to share comments, then just click the link. It says app, Be Live, and guest. You just click on the link. If you don't already have the Be Live app, you'll have to download it for this. You can always just uninstall it after the conversation. But you click on the link, you'll download the app, and you'll be able to join me here on the screen to talk to me today. Okay. Shlonda says, I love books. I love words. I believe they are the keys to my next level. Exactly. I am not just a writer, but I am an avid reader. I am always reading, soaking up information, trying to figure things out. As an entrepreneur, especially because I was an educator, I taught high school, I taught middle school, I trained teachers. I wasn't an entrepreneur. I went out of high school, went to college. From college on, I was a teacher. I worked for someone else, So when I decided, I didn't decide. When the Lord led me off of my career, my almost 20-year career, and said, no more of this. I didn't know anything about being an author. I didn't know anything about being an entrepreneur. I didn't know anything about podcasting. I didn't know anything about any of those things. But you know how I learned? Reading. Reading. I Googled and I read. I read articles on top of articles on top of articles. I bought people's books on how to be an entrepreneur, how to be a successful entrepreneur. I read people's books on how to do the things that I wanted to do. When I had to go through my heart work journey, I read books on, limited beliefs. I realized that I had some faulty thinking, some stinking thinking that was hindering my progress. So I read books from people who had already done the work to help me. So if you are interested in being a writer, I strongly suggest that you become a reader. Just saying. So let's see what else we got going on. Shlonda says she loves that last man. Girl, that last man just gives me chills, honey. Gives me chills. I'm telling you. Does anyone have any questions? Let's see. April says, I know it took you 2 years to share. How did you feel after you finished? So that's a good question. It took me 2 years to write 70 pages, that part. And April says, how did I feel when I finished? I felt relieved. It was a release for me. So for those of you who may not follow my journey as an author, the first thing you probably should know is that I write therapeutically. And that's probably why when you read my work, it'll pull tears from you, or it'll make you laugh, or it may, make you just chuckle. It may make you feel frustrated. I have one woman, when she started reading, when I met him, she sent me a Facebook Messenger message. She said, she said, Angel, I'm so sorry. So when I read that, I was like, why is she sorry? And then she continued and she said, I hate man one. She says, Angel, I'm so sorry. And then she said, I hate man one. I want to fight man one. And I said, I understand. I understand. So for me, putting all 10 of these men on the page and being done with it, it was a release. I felt relieved. I felt free. Probably for almost 40 years, let's say about 35 years, 35 plus years, I have carried around, 9 of those men. Well, no, I'm going to say all 10 of them. I've carried all 10 of those men around on some level. And they were just taking up space. They were taking up space in my heart. They were taking up space in my head. They were just taking up space in my life. And I didn't realize it. I didn't realize that because they were there, it was almost like I was unable to genuinely let anybody else in. Not genuinely. So what I just did was I just kind of collected men. I know that sounds awful, doesn't it? But yeah, I just sort of kept collecting. I never let any of them go. I just held on to all of them. So this book allowed me to release them from my head and from my heart. And so I felt free. Yeah. So that's a good question. It's a good question. Yes, Lynn. How you doing, Lynn? It's good to see you. Yes, reading is key. It is. If you want to be a good writer, become a good reader. Shlonda says, wondering if you had any conversation with the men regarding sharing your journey. What was that like? So, let me see. There's only, well, of course, one of the men I share everything with. But there's one man. Man 2, actually. Man 2 is the only man who even knows he's in this book. So man 2 knows he's in the book. Man 2 has purchased the book. Man 2 has read the book. I've actually talked to man 2. And I'm happy to say that man 2 is pleased with the retelling of that story. Man 2, it's almost like he kind of feels honored. And I told him he should, considering man 2 came after man 1. And for those of you who read, you know the feeling you had reading man 1. And then when you got to man 2, there was a bit of relief. It was like you could breathe again right after man 2. And that's how I felt in the moment when I was living man 2. Man 2 was a relief. Man 2 was beautiful. So what was that like? It was sweet. It almost makes me tear up right now thinking about it. So yeah, man 2 is he knows he's in the book. He's read the book. He's pleased with the retelling of the story. He even said he could relive it. It was so true to the reality of it, which really made me feel good, because I try to be as transparent and as honest about my stories as possible. So for one of the men to actually read his story, to recognize himself and be okay with the story, I was like, good job, Angel. So that's what that was like for me. Good question. Thank you for that one. Let's see. Aaron says, "Hey sis, when writing this book, hold on a second. When writing this book, did there come a time where you were just like, God, I'm not sure if I want to share these things, and if so, how did you get past them?" Great question, Aaron. Yes, that's why it took me 2 years to pen this story or this book. So after Speak with She, One Woman, 10 Truths, which is the first book of the series, I knew immediately. God gave me When I Met Him immediately. It wasn't called When I Met Him, though. The book, I was going to title the book 10 Men, One Truth. 10 Men, One Truth, because the first book is entitled One Woman, 10 Truths. So I was going to name this one 10 Men, One Truth. But that's not where God led me. So it turned out being When I Met Him. So yes, so here's the thing. This book, I share encounters with 10 men. The reality is that I've actually had encounters with more than 10 men. There was a time when I felt really shameful about saying that, especially when you hear, banter, when you hear people talk about, how many does it, a man don't want to be with no woman who been with this many men, or how we have these conversations on social media and stuff like that, like how many people you slept with and all that kind of stuff. So there's really this horrible stigma that gets attached to women who have had more than what the average person would consider a normal amount of sexual partners. So for me, I knew that the 10 men I was going to share in the book actually are they're not all the men. However, some of the stories are like caricatures, because I didn't have to write a book of all the men, because I kept meeting the same types of men. Understand? So for me, I had to deal with shame. I had to deal with feeling like, people are going to be like, golly, you done had 10 men, you know what I'm saying? Or you done all these things. Some of the conversations that I tell, I felt really stupid. Putting it on, when I was living the story, they each felt right. They felt normal. Well, except for one, of course. But in hindsight, as I was writing, as I had to relive it with a renewed heart and mind and spirit, and having done my heart work, I'm writing the stories and I'm going, you did that. Like, you really did that. You did that too. Yeah, that was stupid. Like, how did you even think that was smart? Like, you got a master's degree, you train people, you teach people, you help young girls make good decisions. What made you think that was a good decision to make? So yeah, I did have those moments where I was like, God, I don't want to share these things with people, because I felt like, people would try to shame me. How did I get past it? Well, when I first started my writing journey, the Lord told me that I was writing in order to be liberated and to liberate other people. That's why on the back of all the books, you'll see Revelations 12 and 11. they triumphed over him by the blood of the Lamb and by the word of their testimony. That's what's on the back of each of my books. So the reason the way I was able to get past it is that I had to remember that these stories, they're not just for me. Sharing the stories are going to help some other women get past the tricks of the enemy. It's going to help some women get past those feelings of shame, guilt, self-condemnation, low self-esteem, all of the stuff that keeps us bound. So me sharing my stupid stories, my bad decisions, prayerfully, some other women will read, will see themselves, and will feel like they have permission to release that stuff as well, so that they can get all of that out of them, so they can make room for whatever it is God has for them. So that's how I pushed through. I pushed past knowing that other women are going to read it and they're going to get free, just like I did. So good question, Aaron. Good question. Thank you for the questions. Hey, Mona, how you doing? How you doing? You say, no, it sounds honest. Yeah, I know it's right now. I know it's honest. But when I was writing it, let me tell you, I shed some crocodile tears over each one of these men, every single one of these men. I relived the situations, and yeah, it's honest, but that doesn't mean it was easy to put them on paper. Shlonda says, forgiveness is key to our personal growth. Been there. Yes. I know the last man is aware of your journey. Most definitely. April B says, I have a confession. Even though there were many ups and downs in the relationships, I was a little jealous. I kind of wished I had more experiences and romances. I see how having different experiences shaped you as a person. Wow. That's a good one, April. You know what? Can I just say that even when you think you're alone in your thoughts and how you feel about things, you're not, because you're not the first woman who said this. There's another woman after reading, she connected with me and she said, I've lived a sheltered life. I just almost like I just kind of feel like I should have had some more experiences. Let me tell you something, honey. We all listen. Here's the thing about this book. There are some women who have maybe they've only met two of these men in their lives. Maybe they met one man and they met, they just met one man, or that maybe they just met two of the men. But I know women who've only dealt with one man, but in that one man, he encompassed all of them or several of them. I know some women who have dealt with one man who can relate to almost all 10. So you don't have to have had all of these different experiences to sit in the place that I sat, but I do understand feeling like, the thing about it is when you're in it, it feels like a romance. It feels like a romance, but that is the trick of the enemy. It feels like, oh, this is so wonderful. For example, Man 9. Can I just say to you all that I was in love with Man 9? I was in love with Man 9. I was. I take that back. Earlier, I said that only Man 2 knows he's in the book. That's not true. I'm sorry. Man 9 knows he's in the book as well. He hasn't read it, but he knows he's in the book. I was in love with Man 9. Okay. And in the moment, like in the space and time where our story took place, you couldn't have told me that the decisions I made with him were wrong, because they just felt right. They just felt right. Some people might look at it as, oh, it was romantic, and and some people say it's better to have loved and lost than never to have loved at all. I don't know about that. I think it's better to it's better to love righteously first and only. But you're right. It has helped to shape my life, my story, and what I do. But I believe that God works all things out for the good of those who are called, right? And who love him. So I just don't believe that it was God's original purpose and plan for me to connect with so many men in the way that I did. I just don't believe that was God's way for me. However, because I made these decisions, he already knew the plan he had for me. And so he worked all of them out for my good so that I am where I am today. So I understand how that may look from the outside where you're reading and it's like, oh my gosh, like the love, it seems so strong and so powerful, and to have people to just love you. And yeah, but no, honey, that love, those were not healthy love affairs. This is only my experiences though, only my experiences, but I totally get that. I get that. I do. Let's see here. What else we got? Hey, Lee, how you doing? It's good to see you. Let me see. You got a question. Have any of the men identified themselves in the book and come to discuss their relationship with you? So no, like I said, only 2 of the men know they're in the book. One of the men, man 2, he knows he's in the book and he's actually read the book. Man 9, he knows he's in the book, but he has not read the book as of yet. The other men, no, they don't know they're in the book. Them jokers probably wouldn't buy my book. You know what I'm saying? So who knows? But no, none of them. Let me say this, if one of those men have read my book, they haven't contacted me to say, I know you wrote about me. Also, let me say this to you, Lee, as well. So there are a few of the men in the book where the stories are exact. Man 1, exact. Man 2, exact. Man 9, exact. Man, I want to say 6. Man 6, hold on a second. Man 6, exact. Now there are the other men that the situations are exact, like they're true. However, I shifted some places and I shifted some identifying characteristics and traits to protect the not so innocent. Also, because like I said earlier, I've had encounters with more than these 10 men. And because like I may have dealt with 5 men who were just all alike. They were different men, but the relationship was the same, So with a few of the stories, they're almost like caricatures. Understand? So I'm telling one man's story, but some of the pieces, like what the man looked like, where we were, and that kind of thing, I took bits and pieces from several different men that I dealt with to make the story. So why do I say that? It's quite possible that a man that I've dealt with may read one and go, I think she's talking about me, but that's not what I look like. Or I think she's talking about me, but it didn't happen in that place, right? And it's because I sort of created caricatures in a way by pulling some characteristics from several different men that I have dealt with who were all pretty much alike. If that makes any sense to you. If that makes any sense to you. Okay. Let's see. Shlonda says, OMG, I need to go on live with you to respond to the experience comments. Come on. I put the link here. I'll share it one more time. So it's right here next to you. I am open to anyone who wants to come on. And if you have comments, you don't, if you want to come on and you just want to share your own experience, that's what my Speak Up Sis platform is all about, sharing my story to inspire yours. My role is to open up my mouth and share the blood of Jesus along with the word of my testimony to help us triumph the enemy. Understand this. Can nobody blackmail you about something that you've already put out there? And one thing, when the Lord talked to me about my future, and I realized that I would be on a platform where people would know me who don't really know me. One thing I really fought against was this idea that I don't really want my past to, like, I was like, I don't want people to go digging. The bigger your name gets, the bigger your platform, the more people know you, the more people want to dig, right? Some people will love you, some people will hate you. It's just the nature of the beast. So one of the things that I have really had to get settled with the Lord is I really don't want something to come up from my past and, shame me. Notice that word. If you can tell, that shame word was really, really heavy for me. And so I was like, Lord, I don't think there are any videos of me out there, but if somebody snook and took one and it just kind of surfaced, I would really be shamed. I can only be honest and transparent with y'all. So for me, I had to get to the point where I was willing to be naked and unashamed before the Lord and before you all about my life. I don't have any skeletons. You understand? And although I don't tell y'all every little intricate detail of my life, if somebody showed up later and was like, oh yeah, she thinks she all that now and she miss so-and-so now, but I used to, if anybody decided they wanted to come up later and share it. Here's the thing, sharing my own truth, it takes away the sting from the enemy. It's like, okay, all right, so we did that. I already done told the people I used to do that. You know what I'm saying? You cannot shame me because I've already become naked and unashamed before the Lord. Period. And for me, that's just kind of where I stand. But it took me a minute to get to that place. It wasn't an easy journey getting to that place. But yeah. So anyone else have any questions? Anybody want to come on and share with me? Let me see here. Aaron says, awesome. So you're in writing. So your writing came deliverance. I think it's power when you can live and stand up and own it and see yourself grow. Yes, most definitely, Aaron. It is a powerful tool. Writing, for those of you who are interested in being writers, whether you want to write for a blog, whether you want to write your own book, whatever, writing is very therapeutic. Even when I was an English teacher, I was a huge proponent of journal writing. I always had my students come in and write, and I didn't grade their journals in terms of whether it was grammatically correct or anything like that. because I just wanted them to share what they were thinking. I just wanted them to be able to put their thoughts on paper in a way that made sense for them. I am a huge advocate for writing therapeutically and writing to heal. Many of you have so much stuff stuck on the inside of you that you really could just write out of your head. And that's what I do. I write it all out of my head and then I put it on paper. And once it's on paper, it's like it's real. It becomes real. As long as it's stuck in your head, you can, it can play with you. It'll mess with you. But once you put that thing on paper, I can't even explain it. But once you put your thoughts on paper, it just becomes real. And you have to deal with it at that point. You have to deal with it once it comes out of your head. So if you've got some stuff that you have been battling with, dealing with, I strongly suggest that you write it down, write it out, whatever it is. You can choose to throw it in the trash can when you're done writing. You can choose to burn it. I know people who have written it out of them and they just sort of set it on fire. And for them, it was symbolic of this is gone eternally. I don't deal with this anymore. I know I've heard of people who have written it all out on paper and they've mailed it to someone because maybe they couldn't say what they needed to say verbally on the phone or in person. So they were able to write it out of them on the paper and send it. Like, here, whatever you want to do with it is up to you, but it's out of me. And I've given you an opportunity to deal with it whatever way works best for you, but it's no longer inside of me, right? So whatever you choose to do with the writing when you write it is totally up to you, but get it out of you. And I just think writing is a great way to do that. Shlonda says, tell us how your boys felt about the book. Have they read it? That's a good question. So the boys have not read the second book. My boys were, they read the first book, Speak with Sheep, One Woman, 10 Truths. And they were at the book launching party for the first book back in January 27, 2018. So they heard me read excerpts from the first book. They even heard me because at that book release, I actually told everyone there would be a second book. And I told them what the second book would be about because I already knew. So my sons were like, 10 men, one true. Mama. They were like, Mama. And here's the thing. You just have to know me. I don't candy coat anything with my boys. I don't. My children know the things that have taken place in my life. They know, the incidents in my childhood. My children know it. Let me tell you, the day I told my kids that, that their grandmother used to be addicted to drugs, they were like, not Granny, not Granny. What are you talking about? I was like, yes, Granny. I was like, look, the Granny y'all know was different when I was a kid. So because I am just always honest with my kids, they just are like, it's almost like they just expect that whatever my mama's going to say is just going to be out there. So I'm glad you asked that, because that is one of the reasons why you all rarely see my children in social media land. It's rare that you'll see them. It's even more rare that I ever say their names, because this is their mama sharing her story. It don't have nothing to do with them. You know what I'm saying? My story is my story. And so I don't want people transferring how they feel about their mother onto them. So I try my best to just kind of not share them too much in my spaces. But yeah, they read the first book. They know what's in the second book. They know that is dealing with me having, different relationships with men. They feel some kind of way about it. When I told them that I used to do online dating, and I don't know. I don't know what we were talking about, but one day I think I was talking to the twins and my youngest boy, and we were talking about something. And I said to them that when I was online dating, I wanted to meet the guy soon, like within the week. We needed to meet for coffee or something because I needed to know that the person was real. They were like, "That's crazy. People are crazy. You're just going to go meet somebody you don't even know." So, and I'm listening to them, and I'm thinking to myself, even teenagers know better. But it's the world they are growing up in, right? They're growing up in this world of technology. We didn't grow up with this. The way I saw online dating was kind of like going to the mall. You meet somebody at the mall, you don't know them, you'll go out on a date in 3 days or whatever. That's the way I saw it. It's like, okay, we're just online, but it's a real person. So naive, probably, but it's the way that I did it. So that was a long-winded way to answer your question. They know, they haven't read. I don't think any of them have read When I Met Him, but they know what it's about. Although I don't think they've actually read it directly. Okay. Good question. Deborah says, I write it out through poetry. That's my creative outlet. That's what's up, Deborah. I've never been much on writing poetry, although I do every now and then. From time to time, I will write a poem. It's usually in my journal, though. It's not something that I don't think I would ever release like a book of poems, because that's just not really my thing. But every now and then I do write poetry. I think sometimes I'm a bit too much of a perfectionist to write poetry. I'm just like, everything's got to fit in a category for me. It's like, okay, it's got to be a certain type of poetry. It's got to, fit this kind of way. It's like, okay, this don't rhyme, or this shouldn't rhyme, or this. It's just, yeah. To me, I think a lot of times people just think, oh, I'm just going to write some stuff and call it poetry. But because I've actually taught poetry, I'm really particular about the skill. And I just don't believe that currently I possess the skill to be a poet. Maybe I do. I don't know. But yeah, not right now. So it's a good thing that you are creative through poetry. I think that's pretty cool. Even with my books, there's even a rhyme and reason for how I write these books. So each one of the books, this is the first one, Speak with Chic, One Woman, 10 Truths. And this is the second of the series. But each of the books includes 10 narratives. I call them conversational narratives because they're written with a conversational tone. Can you all agree that when you read it, it felt like you were having a conversation with somebody? Somebody was just kind of talking to you about their whatever. Well, I purposefully do that. I write it in such a way that you can actually hear a voice in your head when you are reading it. For those of you who know me, you probably heard my voice in your head when you were reading. Those of you who don't know me, you probably heard the voice of someone, whether it was your own voice or whatever, but it was a conversation that was taking place. So I call them conversational narratives. A narrative is simply a story. So I write short stories with a conversational tone, and that's why I call them conversational narratives. each one of the books in my conversational narrative series will have 10 stories. Each of the stories can stand alone, or when you read them together, they actually are they almost kind of tell a whole story when you read them all together. Or you can read each one of them individually. You can even read them out of order. I know some people they may start with man 8, or they may start with man 5, and then they just kind of hop through, because each one of the narratives can stand alone. Open that door back, babe. Thank you. So for me, even, I know it seems like, there's no rhyme or reason to it, but there is. I'm writing specifically. I've chosen to write my books in this way. Also, some people have an issue because the books are not, folks are like, it needs to be longer. No, they're purposefully short, because I know a vast majority of people don't like to read. People don't read no more. But I want people to read. So I make sure each book will be 100 pages or less. They won't be any more than 100 pages, because I want you to be able to finish it. I want you to be able to finish it in a decent amount of time. And because I know each story has the content is strong, it can be overwhelming. If I wrote a whole book, each one of these stories could be a book by itself. Each one. I could write a whole novel based on each story. I know they're heavy topics, so I keep them short and sweet, just enough for you to taste it, for you to recognize the taste, for you to reminisce on that taste, think about what that means to you, where you tasted this before, whether you enjoyed it or not, right? And then you can move on. So I purposefully keep the stories short and sweet for you. All right. Let's see. Deborah says, yes, like talking to your friends. Exactly. Shlonda says, I'm asking too many questions, so that was it. Girl, no, it seems like if you don't ask the questions, nobody else is asking the questions. So you're actually giving me something to share, because I don't really know what to tell you. I don't know what you all want to know unless you ask me the question. So you're doing just fine, Shlonda. Thank you. Let's see here. You say no to longer books. These books were able to be finished in one sitting before bed, and I was able to reflect. Exactly. That's exactly what I want my reader to be able to do. I want you to be able to just read it, be done with it, and then do the work. You know what I'm saying? You don't need. So check it out. I've had people to connect with me, and after only reading the one story is so heavy for them that they're like, Angel, I haven't finished reading it yet because I'm still trying to process this one. I tell people all the time, when you read your story, when you read the one or two or however many, but when you read the one that grabs you, it really does stop you for a moment. And for some people, it really puts them in this place where they're like, okay, I can't read any more of this right now. I got to chew on this one first. So I wouldn't give you all too much more. Like I said, I can't see any of the future books being any longer than 100 pages. And 100 pages is still a lot, because believe it or not, my first book is like 40 pages long. 38 pages. This one is really short, 38 pages. This one is 70. And the only reason this one is 70 pages is because I had a reader who contacted me after reading the first book, and she was like, I love the book, but I just wanted more. She said she just kind of wanted more details. And I could understand that. So with the second book, what I tried to do, and I pray that I was able to do it, what I tried to do was give a little bit more, to give a little more of the background to let you sort of, I tried to give you more setting, a little more context so that you felt like you were a part of the story a little bit more than the first book. But I purposefully don't give details, because when you read my books, I don't want you to see Angel. I feel like if I give you too many details about my personal self, then you'll read it and you won't be self-reflective. You'll read it and be like, oh, that's her. Oh, I would never do that. Oh, that, it didn't happen like that for me, right? So I don't give you a lot of details. I just tell you a story. That's it. I tell you the story without telling you anything about me. And then when you read it, you don't see me. You see you. It's that's sort of the purpose behind not giving you so many details. And I pray so far it looks like it's working. But that's why the second book ended up being almost twice the length of the first book, because I tried to give you a little bit more meat so that you felt a little bit more solid about the setting and some of the background information. So that's why. But I think this second book is a nice, I think it's a nice hearty bit. I can't see making the books much longer than this second one. Let's see here. Hey, Jen. Jen is one of my author buddies. What you doing? Hey, everyone else. We're having a Let's Talk with the Author. And people who have read my books, especially when I met him, they are having a chance to ask me questions about the book, about myself, about the process. They're also able to just kind of give me some feedback and some comments. So just a little intimate discussion with the author. We're almost done. We're not even going to be here much longer. So we're just about done. Lee Johnson said, I missed my question. Okay, here's one. Do you think you were a different person with each man, or the same woman with different circumstances? Wow, that's a great question. 2 questions. So let's tackle this one. Do you think you were a different person with each man? I'm thinking about the men. No. So to answer your first question, no, I don't think I was a different person with each man. I was the same person. I was the same Angel. The same broken Angel. The same insecure Angel. And here's the weird dynamic about that, Lee. Even in all of the situations, the essence of me, who God created me to be, was always present. That's weird, isn't it? I just didn't recognize her. What do I mean by that? Every single man that I've ever dated or dealt with, they were all attracted to me for pretty much the same reason. When they saw me, when they met me, I was just smiling and happy and dancing, or just, just really warm and fun and all of, and so, but here's the thing. I didn't see that about myself. They could see it. I didn't see it. My mama used to tell me before I went off to college that, if you don't know who you are, people will tell you who you are. If you don't know, somebody else is going to tell you. And so I believe that in essence, I was the same person, but I was just dealing with people who they could see who I was, but because I didn't know who I was, they were able to sort of My mama said manipulate. I'm trying to be nice. They were able to manipulate the pieces of me that, you know, that suited them. And here we go. I don't want anyone to think that this is like a blame game sort of thing, because it's not. I believe that because I was broken, I actually attracted a lot of broken men who had their own issues. And so just like in one of the stories, I said, he was able to meet my need. I was able to meet his need. And so we were okay as long as we were meeting that particular need. When the need changed, we had no need for each other anymore. So, and the second one you said, or the same woman with different circumstances. So yeah. I think I also, in one of the stories, was talking about how I got to a place where I realized that I was doing the same things over and over and over and over again, just in different locations with different people, different circumstances. But it was all the same. Why? Because I was the same. I was the same. So I hope that kind of answers your question. Okay. Deborah says, do you have plans to do another book? And if so, what's the topic? Of course, I have plans for another book. This is my conversational narrative series. Kind of a sidebar here. When I first wrote the first book, I thought that I was going to write a Speak with Chic series. Like the name of the series would be Speak with Chic. But that's not what has happened. What I decided to do is to write a series of conversational narratives. So each book in my conversational narrative series will be able to stand alone on its own. Each book will have its own name, but they'll all be grouped in this conversational narrative series. So if one day I decide to write a novel, it'll be with my novels. Or if I decide to write journals, like you all, I don't know if you all know or not, but I've also written a Bible study. So I plan on writing more Bible studies as well. So I'll have, I have my Bible study section. So these conversational narratives will kind of sit by themselves. Do I know the topic? So my mom and I were chopping this up. And I was thinking about writing the next one about my tribe. I don't know yet. I haven't really gotten the okay about that. I don't know if women will be as forgiving as men. If I wrote 10 conversational narratives about 10 women who have impacted my life in some way, good and not so good. Don't know if those women will be as forgiving about the stories as the men, but I've thought about it. So it's on the table. Not really sure if that's going to be it or not. You'll just have to wait and see. All right. Let's see. Kimona says, hold on, I'm trying to scroll. I needed a mental break after reading about two of the men. I'm telling you. I'm gonna just go ahead. Just let me go ahead and say this. If you have not read When I Met Him, I'm gonna just go ahead and tell you, you're going to need a drink after Man One. You just are. You're gonna need a glass of wine. You're gonna need to do some yoga. You're gonna need to go pray. Whatever you do, you're gonna probably pause after Man One. I'm just gonna go ahead and let you know that. Let's see here. Hey, Valerie, it's good to see you. Let's see. Calethea says, so then it is fair to say men 1 through 9 were all the same because you were the same. Pretty much. If you really look, if you actually read the stories and really sit down and think, and you're pensive about them, you can see the you'll be able to see the commonalities, right? So after like an initial read, I typically read a book at least twice. If I'm really into it, I typically read it at least twice. After the first read, you're like, whew. When you go back through it and you actually sit with them, if you were to actually dissect the men, I think you would see that there's definitely a common thread with all of them. Mm-hmm. So, yeah. Some people may disagree. I mean, it depends on how you see it. I'm sure a lot of people will bring their own experiences into the reading, but I think it would be safe to say that there was something very familiar about all of them, which is probably why I ended up in relationships with all of them. Yeah. Yeah. Hey, Valerie. Man one, how did these things he did to you affect you as you grew up? So clearly, so here, I'm gonna go, if y'all don't mind. If y'all don't mind, I'm gonna actually open the book. My mama say don't do it. I gotta open the book, mama. To answer her question, I have to open the book. So for man one, there's a part in here where I say, I don't remember what he looked like, his eyes, nose, mouth, haircut, nothing. I have even wondered if it was simply a figment of my imagination. As strange as it may seem, the one I can't remember inevitably introduced me to all the others I can't seem to forget. So, to answer your question, how did the situation with man one affect me as I grew up? It led me to connect with all of the other broken men that I dealt with. You know, it played a part in my promiscuity. It played a part in not being, it actually played a part in being fiercely independent. Because for me, and I'm sure you can notice in some of the stories, for me, it was about no one's ever going to make me do anything I don't want to ever do ever again. You can't make me. I'm going to do me. If you notice, there are pieces in the story where it was like, you know what? I'm taking the lead now. Oh, I'm going to go toe to toe with you now. Oh, we going to dance and I'm leading this dance, right? It actually warped that sense of independence, to where it's like, I'm going to take control of all of these situations, so nobody will ever be able to take my right to choose away. It was warped, though. It wasn't healthy. So I found myself, entering into situations that I didn't need to be in, and then trying to control them as if I could. So I had this false sense of control, still being very vulnerable in each of the situations, right? Thinking I'm in control when I'm really not. I hope that answers your question, even maybe a little bit. Hey, Erica, it's good to see you. Thank you for joining us. Man, too, have you seen him as a grown person? Yes. We're actually still friends. We're still friends. If you ask man too, he'll tell you that he thinks he's gonna be my husband. Man too is still like, I don't care what you say, you my wife. I knew you was my wife then, and you still her, whatever. We'll see what the Lord says about that. let's see here. Shlonda says, Angel, I literally had a couple glasses of wine after finishing the book last night. Girl, I'm telling you, I had a glass or two myself, even with the first book. It was like, my goodness. Erica says, do you know what happened to the guy from the military? What is he doing now? I've never seen him again. Never. My mama is y'all know what, I think I need to sometimes bring my mama on camera because she in all the videos. She's talking about bumping into some more people. Oh goodness, probably. No, Erica, I've never seen him since. Don't know what's going on with him or anything like that. So that was that. Valerie says, I read that part and now I understand. That's what's up. I figured as much. I was thinking about myself. That's what I feel is the main reason I was as promiscuous as I was in my teens. Yeah. So listen, I want to share with you all, if you have a little bit of time. We're going to do this for about 15 more minutes and then we're going to be done. That gives us an hour and a half and we'll be done with this. But I think this is a huge issue that many women deal with. And I think that, and I hate to even put any kind of division in it. Let me see. They're talking to you, Mama. Hold on a second. Kimona says, what was your mom's reaction to reading the book? She hasn't read this one yet. My mama said, I lived with you through all this stuff. I don't need to read that book. And she said, and she's gone through all of this stuff herself. She don't need to read the book. She got firsthand of the book. So that's what she said. So my mom hasn't actually read this particular book. Shlonda says, man, too sounds like my Eric. He used to say the same thing. Girl, don't give man to no energy, child. He probably watching this right now. So listen, I want to share something with you all. I'm going to put Valerie's comment up right now. She said, I figured as much as I was thinking about myself. That's what I feel is the main reason I was as promiscuous as I was in my teens. And I want to address this because I believe for Black women, we all know that women in general, it used to be 80% of all women will have dealt with some type of sexual abuse or assault in some way in her lifetime. That used to be the statistic. It's probably higher now than 80%, but that used to be the statistic. However, and this is just Angel's beliefs, right? You can take it or you can leave it. But I do believe that Black women deal with abuse differently. And I believe it's because we have to deal with it differently. I believe the way that society views Black women sort of pushes us into dealing with abuse as if it didn't happen. I think society expects that Black women should just be tough and we're super women. And, a lot of society thinks that we're masculine anyway. So I believe because we understand what people already think, it sort of pushes us to prove them wrong in a way. And sometimes we actually just sort of live out what other people think, whichever way you choose to do that. So what do? We try to prove that we are stronger than whatever has happened to us. We try to prove that, we're not some kind of victims. We try to prove that, we got all these things we're trying to prove until we never actually get to really deal with what happened to you. So before I let y'all go today, I actually want to share with you a piece that is in my first book, because I think that it speaks very loudly to how Black women deal with sexual abuse, whether it's molestation, whether it's rape, whether it is being groped, touched, whatever, in the workplace, whatever it is. I think this piece speaks directly to how we deal. And this piece is actually the piece, the story that made me decide I'm going to tell my story, because I wanted to stop having these 2 a.m. cries. So I want to share this with y'all before I let y'all go for the day. Okay. It's entitled 2 a.m. Cry. It's in the first book, Speak with Sheep, One Woman, 10 Truths. And it says, I'm lying here in my bed at like 2 o'clock in the morning in tears. I don't really know why or how my childhood molestation became an issue tonight. I look at my phone. It's literally 2:16 a.m. and I am writing. I feel the need to write this off my chest, write this off my mind. Tonight, I find myself wondering if I should tell the man for whom I'm falling so deeply about my little incident. I know to call it a little incident implies it wasn't that serious, but so often I don't believe it was that bad. I mean, I hear the horrible stories other women tell, and quite frankly, I should feel lucky that my own situation was not like theirs, right? I mean, I don't have breakdowns around men, and I can be in intimate relationships. Actually, I have been in too many intimate relationships. I often wonder if that is a symptom of the incident. Sometimes I don't even know if I remember the entire thing correctly. At times I have flashback memories, but I have been able to live and thrive without this creating limitation. I don't want to be treated like a victim. At the same time, I'm smart enough to know that I didn't walk away totally unscathed. I just don't know what to attribute to it, or if I should attribute anything to it. I feel to attribute any behaviors to the incident, current or past, is to scapegoat. And I don't ever want anyone to think I am trying to find an excuse for my own bad decisions or any mistakes I've made. At the same time, I know all our experiences shape us in some way. So why should I put more emphasis on this experience than any other? The incident does not define me. And at the same time, I feel like I want people closest to me to know, so they can understand why I'm ultra protective of my kids, why the thought of my 17-year-old son staying out with friends at night without me scares me shitless, why I need the man I fall in love with to reassure me at every turn that he really does believe I'm beautiful, wonderful, intelligent, and sexy, and mean it for real, to reassure me that there is no other motive behind what he is saying to me. I want people I love the most to know and not know, all at the same time. That I know they think I'm one of the strongest women they know, but deep down inside, I feel tainted, small, weak, unsure, unbeautiful, dumb, unlovable. However, to say any of this to anyone other than this page is to somehow become the victim, which I am not. Therefore, every now and then, I have a 2 a.m. cry. It usually comes out of nowhere for no apparent reason. It's a silent cry, one where my face is all wet and I can't really see the words I'm writing because of the waterfalls. A cry so silent, my back and chest ache because of the effort it takes to not release a sound. My children would never understand why mommy is making such a gut-wrenching sound, and I surely will not traumatize them. So this 2 a.m. cry must remain silent. The tears do subside, and eventually there will be one lone tear that rolls from my eye to my nose, down my lip, and somehow it just evaporates. I'll stop writing, drift to sleep, and this 2 a.m. cry will have never happened. So that one piece is the reason both of these books were born, because I got tired of having these silent, they didn't really happen 2 a.m. cries to prove something to somebody. So I choose to speak up and share my story to inspire you to share yours. So that's that, people. I hope you all have gotten your questions answered. I hope you have enjoyed spending this little bit of time with me. I have thoroughly enjoyed sharing with you all today. Let me see. Valerie says, Angel, I had the same talk. With myself. Should I tell my future husband? How will he respond? Will he still want me? Those are my questions to myself. I'm telling you, I believe we all have those questions. We all think those thoughts. We're all feeling that way. But because of what people think about us, we just won't share. And I think it's imperative, in order for us to triumph the enemy, in order for us to overcome guilt, shame, self-condemnation, humiliation, and all the other Asians, we've got to begin to speak up and share our stories. Okay. Yes, Kimona. Whew. It's a lot. It's a lot. Let's see here. Shlonda says, I, Valerie Champion, the right one will want you. I too am a victim of sexual abuse. I told my husband before marriage, and he was a stand-up guy about it. Way too much to type, but you should share. Most definitely share it. Listen, if you can't share the most vulnerable, and I say it all the time, if you can't be naked and unashamed with the man you're going to call your husband, he ain't your husband. That's pretty simple right there. We're going to leave that right there. Angel may have her next topic: Black women, 10 myths, sexuality, strength, and situations. Girl, hold up. Let me write that down. Let me write that down. Let me write that down. Oh no. I don't know. Listen, this is what I'm gonna tell you, Shlonda. If you don't write it, I will. I'm gonna give you first dibs on your idea, Shlonda. So I'm gonna give you some time to put that in a book. And if you don't do it, you already know it'll be a part of Angel Charmaine's conversational narratives series. Bless God. All right, everybody. I'm done for today. Thank y'all so much. Thank you, Valerie. I really appreciate you. It has been rejuvenating and freeing. Thank you. I appreciate you. Thanks for coming through. All right, everybody. Y'all have a beautiful day. And please, please, if you have read any one of my books, if you will, please, today, share it with someone who hasn't read. Like, just tell them about the book. Hey, sis, there's this great book I read. It's amazing. I think it's going to bless your soul. It's going to help you get free. You ought to go to speakupsis.com and grab a copy. Okay, please. The only way for any indie author to get their books out into the mainstream is for the people who read the books to share the books. So please share my books with the women in your lives, the men in your lives, the people in your lives. Share my book with your communities. Allow the books to spark conversations that are definitely needed in our communities. You know, when people are asking, hey, what are you reading? Have you read a good book? Please say, yeah, I read When I Met Him by this new indie author. Her name is Angel Charmaine. I think we should read it. So I'm asking you all to please help me spread my work to the people who need it by sharing. You know, take a picture, post it, go on Amazon, write a comment, you know. So with that being said, y'all have a beautiful day, and I will see you all next time. Bye. You can go to speakupsis.com/books and grab a copy. And today, if you type in the when you check out, if you put, I'm going to put it in the comments. If you use the code buy black and the number 2, you'll get $2 off When I Met Him. So if you want to purchase When I Met Him today, if you use the code buy black and the number 2, you'll get $2 off your copy of When I Met Him. If you've already bought the book, you could buy another one and gift it to somebody. All right. Peace out, y'all. Take care. I'll see you next time.